Husband's best friend was supposed to stay with us for 2 weeks after her breakup, but she stayed more than 2 months acting like she owned the place, so when we asked her to leave she refused and we had to get the law involved. Throwaway account because my husband and his friends know my main. I, 30F, could really use some advice. My husband Ben, 30M, and I have been married for 3 years. His best friend Lisa, 29F, has been staying with us for the past 2 months, and it's been a complete nightmare for me. Lisa went through a bad breakup and needed a place to stay. Ben has known Lisa since college, they're very close and I've never had a problem with her, until she moved into our home. I agreed to let her use our guest room temporarily because I felt bad that she had nowhere to go after leaving her ex. We thought it would be for a couple of weeks tops while she found a new apartment. Well, it's been 2 months and there's no end in sight. The main issue is that Lisa has zero respect for me or our home. She treats the place like it's hers and Ben like he's hers too. Some examples of what I mean. 1. Boundary issues. She is extremely comfortable with my husband in ways that make me uncomfortable. For instance, playfully grab his arm and lean her head on his shoulder. It's like I'm third wheeling in my own marriage sometimes. I talk to Ben about how awkward that makes me, but he insists she's just very affectionate with everyone and that it doesn't mean anything. 2. No sense of privacy. She'll barge into our bedroom without knocking. One morning I was changing and she just opened the door to ask if we had milk. We've made it clear our bedroom is our private space, but she still forgets. 3. Mess and inconsideration. She doesn't clean up after herself. The kitchen is constantly a disaster because she'll cook meals or late night snacks and leave everything out. I keep finding wine glasses and snack plates all over the living room from her and Ben's movie nights. She also does laundry and leaves her clothes in the dryer or strewn on the couch for days. I end up moving her stuff just so I can use my own washer. 4. Monopolizing my husband's time. Every evening, she wants to hang out with Ben, watching movies, playing video games, or just talking for hours. If I try to join, I feel like an outsider. They have a million inside jokes and stories, and Lisa will sometimes make comments like, "Oh, you wouldn't get it, it's a Ben and me thing." It comes off really rude. I've basically stopped hanging out in my own living room because I feel unwelcome when they're together. 5. Subtle digs at me. Lisa has made a few snide comments that feel like backhanded insults. For example, I made dinner for everyone a week ago and she joked, "Oh wow, this is actually edible, haha," implying my cooking usually isn't. She laughed it off as just teasing, and Ben brushed it off too, but I was not amused. She's also commented on my work from home routine like must be nice to sit around in pajamas all day, when I'm literally working a full-time job from home. I've tried talking to Ben multiple times about how Lisa's behavior is affecting me. He tends to defend her or make excuses. She's going through a rough time. She's always been a bit messy, she'll clean it up later, or don't take it personally. She jokes like that with everyone. He also points out that she doesn't really have anywhere else to go right now and we should be compassionate. I was compassionate for the first few weeks, but my patience is gone. I'm tired of coming second in my own home and being treated like I'm the unreasonable one for wanting basic respect and privacy. I haven't had a serious sit down with Lisa directly about all this, mostly because I keep hoping my husband will step up and set some boundaries with his friend. I did hint to her a couple times like, "Hey, could you tidy up the kitchen when you're done? Or maybe knock next time." I might be indecent, but she usually just rolls her eyes or says yeah sure and nothing changes. I feel like if I blow up or get too firm, I'll be the bad guy kicking out a friend who's basically family to my husband. But I'm at a breaking point. Last night I went to bed early while Ben and Lisa were laughing it up in the living room, and I just felt like a stranger in my own house. I was so upset I couldn't sleep. This morning I woke up to dirty dishes again and I nearly lost it. I want my house and my marriage back. I want Lisa gone, or at least for her to act like a respectful guest if she stays a bit longer. Am I being unreasonable here? How do I handle this without causing a huge fight? Because as it stands, I'm about to explode and tell her to get out. Friendship be damned. Any advice on how to navigate this would be really appreciated. Update 1. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. The overwhelming advice was that I needed to put my foot down and not let this situation continue. You all are right, I was being way too accommodating. So, I took your advice and things. Well, let's just say things escalated pretty quickly. A couple days after my post, I came home from running some errands to find a mini house party going on in my living room. There were like 4 extra people over, some of Ben and Lisa's mutual friends, just hanging out, drinking beer, and playing music. Nobody had given me a heads up. I walked in around 9 p.m. and was basically the only one sober in a room full of my husband's buddies and Lisa. Apparently, Lisa decided to invite people over to lift her spirits and told Ben it was cool. He claims he was going to text me, but I got home before he did. I was absolutely livid, but I didn't want to make a scene in front of everyone. I said a quick hello, went to our bedroom, and just seethed. When the last guests finally left around midnight, I unloaded on Ben. I definitely raised my voice, which I rarely do. I asked him what the hell he was thinking allowing a party in our home without even asking me. I said I was done feeling like a guest in my own house. It turned into a huge argument. He was pretty drunk, thanks to the impromptu party, and kept saying stuff like, "It was just a chill night, why are you so angry?" Which made me even angrier. I basically yelled, "I'm fucking angry because nothing about this is okay. She doesn't respect us or our home, and you keep enabling it. I'm done, she needs to go, ASAP." There was a lot of back and forth. He got defensive at first, saying I was overreacting and that I hate his friends. I shut that down real fast. I told him this is not about his other friends, it's about Lisa overstepping every boundary and him letting her. I admit I kind of went off. I listed every single thing she's done that drove me up the wall, point by point. I was on a rant and probably said some not nice things about Lisa, like calling her a freeloader and saying open your eyes, she acts like she's your wife instead of me. He got quiet after that and looked really conflicted, or maybe he finally realized how upset I truly was. It ended with me basically giving an ultimatum. Lisa needs to be out of our house soon, or I will be. I made it crystal clear that I refuse to live like this anymore. I said something like, "I love you, but I will not be a doormat. I'd rather stay with my parents than feel disrespected in my own home." I think that shook him up. He sobered up a bit and finally agreed that this had gone on way too long. The next morning, once he was fully sober, we talked again, much more calmly. Ben apologized for the party situation and for not seeing how bad things had gotten. He admitted that if the roles were reversed, he'd also be upset. He said he cares about Lisa as a friend, but he realizes our marriage should have come first. About time he realized that. We both agreed that we needed to ask Lisa to leave. We sat down with Lisa after breakfast. She must have sensed something was up because we never have serious talks like that. I let Ben do most of the talking, since it's his friend, but I was right there to chime in when needed. He told her, as gently as he could, that it was time she start looking for another place to stay. That we'd help her if needed, but she should plan to move out by the end of the month. We chose the end of the month because it was about 3 weeks away, which felt fair given she's been here 2 months already. Well, Lisa did not take it well. She got really quiet at first and just said, "Okay, sure." But then she started tearing up and asking where this was coming from. She said something along the lines of, "I thought everything was fine, why are you kicking me out all of a sudden? Did I do something wrong?" Ben tried to keep it amicable, telling her that we've just realized we need our home back to ourselves and that it was always meant to be temporary. I finally spoke up and mentioned that the party last night was a bit of a breaking point, because we need more communication and respect in our home. She immediately apologized for the party, saying she didn't think it was a big deal and she assumed Ben had cleared it with me. I told her plainly that I was very uncomfortable with it and would have appreciated being asked. She then turned to Ben and said in this sad voice, "You seemed fine with it last night. Why are you suddenly upset with me?" He explained that we both should have been consulted and that it was a mistake not to include me. Lisa looked pretty upset and sniffled, "I feel like I'm being ganged up on." It was awkward and no one really knew what to say to that. Eventually, Lisa said quietly, "All right, I hear you. I'll start looking for a place. I'm sorry I made you guys feel that way." She was definitely crying a little, which made my husband feel awful. He gave her a side hug and said something like, "It's not that we don't care about you, we just need our space back. We'll help you get settled somewhere else, I promise." I didn't hug her, but I did say, "Thank you for understanding," just to be polite. So, as of now, the plan is that Lisa will move out in 3 weeks. I don't know where she's going yet. She said maybe she could stay with a cousin or look for a room to rent. We even offered to help cover a deposit or first month's rent if money is tight for her. She didn't give a firm answer, just kind of went to her room after that conversation. Since then, things have been tense, but at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Lisa has been mostly keeping to herself. She's not really hanging out with us in the evenings anymore, which is fine by me. That said, I'm a little skeptical because I've not seen her actually searching for apartments or packing yet. It's been a few days and she mostly stays in her room or goes out, probably meeting up with friends or looking for places, not sure. I'm trying not to micromanage the process. Ben and I agreed to give her a chance to handle it like an adult. But if 2 weeks go by and she hasn't made progress, we will push harder. I do feel a bit guilty that it had to get so confrontational, and I know Ben is a bit down about basically forcing his friend out. But I also feel so much more hopeful now that we've set this boundary. The next few weeks might be uncomfortable, but at least I can see an end in sight. I'll update again if anything major happens, but hopefully the next update will be that she moved out peacefully and we have our home to ourselves. Update 2. So, things did not go as smoothly as we had hoped. It's now been about 3 weeks since we told Lisa to move out, which was the agreed upon timeline. That deadline came and went, and Lisa is still here. I am furious, and Ben is at his wit's end too. We tried to handle this like adults, but it's turned into a complete shit show. As the move out date got closer, I occasionally, gently asked Lisa how the apartment hunting was going or if she needed help. She always gave pretty vague answers like, yeah, I'm looking, nothing yet, or I might stay with my cousin, I'm figuring it out. I had a bad feeling she wasn't actually doing much to find a place. Ben even sat her down a week before the deadline and stressed that she needed to be out by the end of the month. She said she understood. Well, the end of the month arrived 2 days ago. On that day, I knocked on her door in the morning and politely asked what time she was planning to move out, or if she needed help packing. She looked at me like I had 3 heads and said, I don't have anywhere to go yet. This led to a very tense conversation. I reminded her we'd agreed on this date 3 weeks ago. She started getting defensive, saying, it's not so easy to just find a place. I need more time. I told her we'd already been more than fair, and asked how much more time she thought she needed. She just kept saying, I don't know, okay? I can't afford a place yet. At this point, Ben joined in and firmly told her that she needed to leave. That's when the bomb dropped. Lisa flat out refused. She said, I'm sorry, but I'm not leaving yet. Legally, you can't force me to leave without proper notice. I was stunned. She was essentially invoking tenant rights or whatever. To be clear, we never had a formal rental agreement or anything, she was just a friend staying over. We never took money from her. I told her our verbal agreement was the notice, and she's known for weeks she had to go. She just crossed her arms and said, if you want me out, you'll have to evict me properly. I looked it up. I honestly couldn't believe the audacity. I mean, I can believe it now in hindsight, but at that moment I was so shocked and angry I literally just said, are you kidding me? I might have called her something worse under my breath. Ben was a bit more composed, on the outside, at least. He told her this is absolutely not how friends treat each other and that she was taking advantage of us. She started yelling back about how we're heartless for kicking her out when she has nowhere safe to go. He replied, I gave you 2 months of housing, Lisa. I think I've been plenty supportive, but this is our home and you've way overstayed your welcome. It devolved into a shouting match. I told her she was betraying our trust and friendship by doing this. She kept saying we were basically throwing her to the wolves and that she thought we were better friends than that. The entitlement was unreal. I eventually just walked away and let Ben handle talking because I was on the verge of either bursting into angry tears or saying something I'd regret. Once things cooled down, meaning Lisa slammed her bedroom door and refused to talk anymore, we were both furious and, frankly, feeling pretty betrayed. We ended up calling a lawyer friend for advice that same day, and also looked up tenant laws in our area. Unfortunately, Lisa sort of has us by the law. Turns out, because she's been living here for over 30 days and we allowed it, she's likely considered a tenant even without a written lease. Which means we have to go through a formal eviction process to get her out if she won't go willingly. The lawyer friend confirmed that we need to give written notice and possibly file in court if she still refuses after the notice period. We can't just change the locks or toss her stuff out without risking legal trouble for ourselves. The police won't help because it's a civil matter. In short, we're stuck with her for a while longer, unless by some miracle she decides to leave on her own. I was so angry I was literally shaking. We gave this girl an inch, and she took a mile. Hell, she took the whole damn road. Ben tried talking to Lisa again calmly, basically saying, don't do this. We're asking as friends. We'll even help you financially to get another place. Let's not make it uglier. She refused to engage and just coldly said, I'm not discussing this right now, and locked herself in our guest room. So, first thing yesterday, we served her an official written notice to vacate. We literally printed a template we found online and gave her a 30-day notice in writing. Maybe overkill, but we're preparing in case we end up in court. She didn't say much upon receiving it, just that she's working on it. Right. Now we're essentially in limbo for another month with a hostile houseguest who is now basically a squatter. The whole vibe in the house is beyond awkward. We don't speak unless absolutely necessary. Lisa mostly stays in the guest room with the door shut. I have no idea what she does in there. When she comes out to use the kitchen or whatever, we all just kind of avoid eye contact. It's a miserable way to live, but I'm too paranoid to do something that would jeopardize our legal stance, like shutting off utilities or trying to physically remove her. I'm documenting everything, and so is Ben. Speaking of Ben, he's fully on my side now, finally. This ordeal has been a huge wake-up call for him. He's angry and hurt that his friend would take advantage of us like this. He told me he deeply regrets ever inviting her to stay and not listening to me sooner. I can tell he's stressed and guilt-ridden, but at least we're a united front now. We both just want this person out of our lives as soon as legally possible. So yeah, that's where we are. We essentially have to live with this nightmare roommate for another month, or possibly longer if she drags it out in court, all because we tried to do a nice thing for a friend. I'm beyond frustrated and feeling trapped in my own home, again. At least now there's a formal process underway and a definite end date, even if it's later than I wanted. The day I can watch her walk out that door for good, I might actually throw a party of my own, and you bet I won't be inviting her. I really hope I have a better update next time. Cross your fingers for us. Update 3. Finally, some good news. Lisa is gone. Gone. But holy hell, it did not happen peacefully. This was one of the most stressful experiences of my life. We had to follow through with the formal eviction. We gave the 30-day written notice as I mentioned in the last update. Those 30 days were tense and mostly quiet. We all just tried to exist without interacting. It was like living with a ghost who slams doors occasionally. Fast forward to the end of that notice period, which was just a few days ago, Lisa still hadn't packed a single box. At this point, we had also filed an eviction case at the local courthouse, anticipating she wouldn't leave. We got a court date, went before a judge, and, since it was a pretty straightforward case of a houseguest overstaying, we won. The judge gave her a move-out deadline, 1 week from the court hearing, and after that, law enforcement could remove her if needed. She didn't show up to the court hearing, by the way, which probably worked against her. Honestly, I think she thought we were bluffing or that it wouldn't go that far. Well, it did. The final deadline the court gave us was this past Monday. That morning, I knocked on her door, again, and said as calmly as I could, "This is the day. You need to be out by noon," as the court ordered. She just muttered, "Yeah, I'm going," but she still was just sitting on her bed amidst all her stuff that was strewn around. By noon, nothing was moved. We had arranged with the sheriff's department, who handle evictions here, to come in the early afternoon if she hadn't left. When I told Lisa that the sheriff was on the way, she kinda lost it. She started frantically throwing her clothes into bags, all while yelling at me and Ben. It was a blur of her shouting things like, "I hope you're happy now. And you two are kicking me out like trash." She was crying and furious. We mostly stayed out of her way and let her pack her things, finally. Ben at one point tried to mediate. She screamed at him. It was honestly hard to listen to, even though I know we did more than enough for her. When the sheriff deputies arrived, it was embarrassing and sad. Officers came to the door. We explained that our guest was refusing to leave. They talked to Lisa, who by that point had most of her stuff in a couple of suitcases and duffel bags. She kept acting like we were the worst people on earth, but the deputies didn't want to hear it. They told her she needed to leave or she'd be trespassed. She was yelling and crying in front of them too, saying, "Where am I supposed to go?" The deputies basically said, "You need to leave, ma'am. Do you have someone to call or a place to stay? If not, we can provide info for a shelter." She didn't want to hear that and just snapped, "I'll figure it out." The actual moment she left was so anticlimactic for something that caused me so many nightmares. She walked out the door with her bags, still sobbing and cursing under her breath about how we ruined everything. One of the deputies escorted her out and the other stayed to talk to us. They told us that was that, gave us a pamphlet about changing locks and how to handle any of her remaining property, and then they left. Just like that, she was gone from our home. We did a walkthrough of the guest room and the rest of the house after she left. The guest room was a disaster zone. She hadn't bothered to clean anything, no surprise. There were trash bags full of who knows what, empty bottles, food wrappers, even a couple of our bath towels that she had taken from the linen closet, which were all stained with makeup. Random little things of ours were missing too. For example, a small jewelry dish that used to be on the bedside table in the guest room was gone. I suspect she took it either as a souvenir or out of spite. Not anything super valuable, but still infuriating. And remember that comment she made about my cooking? Ironically, one of the only things she left behind was a dirty pan in the sink from something she cooked the day before. Kind of like leaving us one last mess to clean. We spent that whole evening cleaning and reclaiming our space. We washed all the sheets, boxed up the random junk she left. We planned to drop it off at her sister's place, more on that in a second, and yes, we changed the locks immediately. We also installed a security camera at our front door, just in case. Maybe that's overkill, but after all this, we aren't taking any chances. We did learn a bit about Lisa's next steps as she was leaving. Turns out, she had contacted her older sister who lives about an hour away, and that's where she headed after being kicked out. The only reason I know is because her sister actually called my husband's phone later that night to ask when she could come pick up the rest of Lisa's stuff, a couple boxes and an old guitar she left in our garage. Ben spoke with her briefly and gave a polite but curt summary of why Lisa had to leave. Her sister didn't seem surprised. My guess is this isn't the first time Lisa's burned a bridge. Anyway, we're coordinating to drop off the remaining boxes with her sister this week so we never have to see Lisa again. Now, I'm going to enjoy my drama-free life with my husband and hope we never need to post in our /relationship_advice ever again. And if we do, please slap some sense into us. Ha ha, TL, DR, my husband's friend overstayed her welcome. We had to legally evict her after a lot of drama. She's finally gone and facing the consequences of burning bridges. Husband and I have our home and life back. No more freeloaders ever again.